Hello and welcome back, everybody. It's your boy Dragothian here, and I've got another great Rise of Kingdoms video for you. I did a best of the best PvP edition video. I want to say it was about a week ago, maybe a week and some change, and it got some really good feedback and a lot of views, and people seemed very interested in just kind of knowing, top of the line when it came to pay to win and also free to play for PvP. And I did have a lot of people asking for doing a PvE edition so that they could be kind of lining up their PvE setups, especially as the Lost Kingdom is starting to come out and we're starting to figure out that there's going to be higher level goodies for our PvE type of activities. So with that in mind, before the Lost Kingdom comes out, I know it was delayed. We're all a little upset about that, but that gave me a little more time to do this video, so it worked out pretty well. I'm going to do a PvE edition of this. By extension, I am also, by request, going to be doing a mixed troop edition of this, and also a siege and garrison edition of a best of the best video. So I wanted to make sure you guys have each facet of the game, what you're trying to strive for when it comes to whatever playstyle you've got, whether you're putting some money into the game or whether you're really grinding it out and farming those gems and just doing as much PvE content as possible to level up your commanders, just doing it the grindy way, more of the free-to-play way of doing it. So either way, this will work. I'll give you both options for the PvE edition that you're about to watch. And then certainly as we continue on with the other parts of the series, I'll make sure to have both pieces so that whatever role you fit into, you'll be able to do just fine and really start to contribute to your growth and also your alliance's growth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and get rolling with the Barbarian piece. So there's two pieces that I really want to talk about on this edition. The first one is farming barbarians, and the second one is going to be farming barbarian forts. Now, again, in the Lost Kingdom that's coming out, we're both going to have higher level content from what I understand. So having the best of the best is going to be even more crucial because these things are going to be higher level. We need to be able to really crank out the damage, get the best combinations, really put it to these guys so that we can farm them efficiently, not have to spend so many resources healing up, and then ultimately just keep grinding these things out so we can get our commanders leveled up and get all this stuff, all the loot and all the good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with the barbarian farming. So I'm going to start with the pay to win. And it should come as no surprise that YSG is part of this. Now, I've got Richard as second. And the reason I have Richard as second, when you're farming barbs, especially when you're just kind of making a run for it and you're not necessarily bringing all your troops out, because you can do that, right? You can bring out all your troops and just kind of find a level 25 and target all 5 of your armies on that level 25. You can do that. However, efficiency, right? Best of the best. Taking one army out and having YSG with his circular AoE area of effect in combination with Richard, who can keep your troops healed up fully, regardless of what troop you're bringing out. You can do infantry, archer, or cav. I generally prefer cav just because there tends to be more damage and they're faster. Now, archers with the archer talent tree that YSG does have some march speed, so it may make sense for the pay to win player to go ahead and just use archers. It won't be quite as fast as cavalry, but it'll be pretty close and good enough for government work. And certainly the damage will be a little bit of an increase because you'll have the archer talent tree to pull from. Now, any of these builds I'm about to show you, or any of these combinations that I'm about to show you, you want to use the skill tree, guys. Skill tree is where all the damage is at. The nuke damage that you're doing against barbarians and barbarian forts are what kills them quicker. So the more skill talent tree you have filled up, the better off you're going to be. This even includes naked rage, which I'll show you at the very end. You get extra 6% skill damage or 9% skill damage, one of the two, but you take more skill damage when you use that talent. But the skills that the barbarians use generally are very small. They don't really hit for that hard, so you're getting a lot more nuke damage for not really that much more nuke damage received. So this is the pay-to-win version. Again, the reason this is so good, okay, is because you can park yourself, this one army, in the middle of 5 or 6 barbarians and continually rain down arrows in a full circle around you. That's the difference between this versus the next one, which is going to be, well, there's a couple versions of it, but these are the two that I like to use the most, and it just depends on really what you have. Have you invested in Sun Tzu? Have you invested in Baybars? And again, Richard for the same purpose on the back end. You can get Richard with a max first skill as free to play. If you can't do that, you're not playing the game right. I'm just going to be honest with you. Or he hasn't arrived in your server yet, at which point just wait until he hits the wheel and then you'll have him. And in the meantime, you can use both of these characters to do your AoE farming as free to play as well. You can do Sun Tzu primary, Baybar second, or vice versa, and it'll work. You just won't have as much sustainability because you don't have the heal. But for most PvE type events, like the chocolate event that we had for Valentine's Day, where you had to kill multiple barbarians in a row to get the highest levels and gain the highest rewards, all of the supply crate events, all of the, in fact, I think we've got one right now. Let me show it to you. So we've got Strategic Reserve. I know you can't kind of see it behind all the pictures, but you should know what Strategic Reserve is. That's where you're farming barbarians and they drop loot for you, and at the end of the event, depending on how high you are in the rankings, you can get Cleopatra sculptures, which are always great because those are legendary sculptures. So again, these are the two versions that I like the most when it comes to farming barbarians, because A, they do an absolute ton of damage, and B, they can hit multiple targets at once, so you're conserving action points. And action points are one of those things where you really can never have too much, because you either have filled the bar up and you're wasting your action points, or you've completely used all your action points and then you're starting to use potions. Those are also a valuable resource, especially as the Lost Kingdom starts to come out as soon as it comes out, hopefully in the next couple of days at the latest. So you want to be conserving all those action points. Now, I wanted to also put an honorable mention in, because you cannot talk about PvE without talking about Lohar. So this is the special mention that I wanted to do. It's not AoE barbarians, so I'm not sure why I have that titled that way, but it could be if you chose an AoE commander as the second. But when you're talking about PvE best of the best, Lohar is the best of the best because he gives you an XP bonus. So 70% experience bonus on one of his skills, plus an additional, we can look it up, but I think it's like 15 to 20% in the peacekeeping talent tree. So all that stuff stacking up, plus again, if you get an XP rune, for instance, those start to really add up to help you level some of these other commanders that you need leveled up very quickly. Now, I will mention that once you get him to level 60, the effectiveness tends to go down, because you could effectively be leveling 2 commanders simultaneously without Lohar. They just won't be leveled as fast individually, but more XP is given considering you're giving it to 2 commanders that can actually use it, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, though, Lohar is your go-to when it comes to leveling up commanders. If you need somebody leveled up quickly, he's who you pair him up with. Make sure he is primary, and make sure you go after as many of the support rage talents that you can get a hold of, and all of the action point reduction talents in the peacekeeping tree, along with the experience talents and also the damage talents. And there's some more speed talents in the integration tree that he also has. So I will say that, again, this is kind of your best of the best pay-to-win, free-to-play AoE, and then free-to-play, I would say, barbarian leveling special mention is really what that title should be. That's your best of the best because of how much experience he can give. So I hope that made sense. All right, so we're back to square one. Now we're going to start talking about forts. Now forts are a whole different type of animal. Not so much that you need to attack them in a different way, because again, you want skill damage, the most skill damage you can get, okay? So what I'm going to show you is and when I say pay to win, it's not necessarily pay to win. And anytime I say pay to win, guys, pay to win is if you want it now. You can get these pay to win, versions eventually, right? Like even without spending a dime into the game, except for Minamoto, obviously you need to buy him, but you can get legendary commanders. It just takes a while if you're not putting money into the game. So at this point in the game, if you started like the first week, you should start to be seeing a lot of these guys getting maxed out, especially if you really focused into a couple as you've gone along. But the pay to win for the forts version that I've got is going to be obviously Minamoto and Double C. Now, again, with any of these pairings, cavalry are going to be best, or just all in one type of troop is going to be best. So you can do with the pay to win version of the forts, which is Minamoto and Double C, you want full cav. If you're doing mixed troops, you're sending siege, you're sending archers, infantry, along with cav, you're not going to be as effective. You're going to have more severely wounded, and it's going to cost you more from a repairing and a healing standpoint, okay? If you have your alliance trained that when you send a rally and you've got Mina and Double C, which you should always have it if they've got decently leveled skills, you should always be only receiving cav. That's it. You shouldn't be receiving anything else from your alliance. If they're sending you something else, send them back, because they're doing more harm than good, okay? With this, you can do level 5 forts with ease, and as long as you're over about 350,000, 300,000 troops, you can knock them out. Now, the lower your troop count on these fort rallies, the more severely wounded it's going to give you and the longer it's going to take, but you can do it. If you're upwards of 700,000 plus troops, it's instant almost, and you're maybe going to repair 100 troops for each person that participated. So very, very good way to not only really get some activity in your alliance going, but also get a really good amount of experience tomes. Each time you do a level 5 fort that you started, you get about 44 to 46,000 experience that you can use on any commander you want, not just the 2 that you use. So that's the other piece of the fort puzzle, right? You're not getting experience from the fort, you're getting experience from the rewards from the fort. So really good way to level up your commanders, where you don't necessarily want to use Lohar +1 for barb killing, or if you got some extra action points, you can do both. And you can be using Lohar plus the commander you want to level up, and use Minamoto and Double C to get an additional 46,000 or so experience every 6-7 minutes or so, if you do it right. So really neat. This is the best way to go. Best of the best. Fort rally, full cav. Make sure you have at least 300,000 troops. 700,000 plus is best. 550 is usually average. Okay. The other one, the free-to-play version, and again, free-to-play just being the epic version of what we're doing here, is going to be Boudica. And I chose Osman as the second. Now, again, usually Boudica Minamoto is the free-to-play version. Minamoto is not free. He's one of the only commanders that you cannot get for free. You got to put at least some money into the game to get him. Double C is a free-to-play commander in the sense that you can get him without spending any money. But again, to get him to the point where he needs to be really effective, which is getting that third skill on the commander talent tree done, is crucial. So that gives him the extra cavalry attack. And then the first skill obviously needs to be max, giving him his maximum nuke. So it tends to take a little bit more investment to get him maxed out. So I went Boudica Osman, and again, this is strictly because this is probably one of the better pairs for maximum nuke, but also giving you a little bit of heal too. So with Osman, you're going to be getting one of the biggest nukes in the game for an epic commander, short of Herman, which is about 50 damage more for his primary nuke. However, Osman has another skill that gives, every time another skill is used, another 400 damage factor is done. So that's 2 skills per 6-ish seconds. That's another 800 damage factor multiplied by how many troops you have in a rally. That really starts to stack up. And then again, with Boudica being expertised out, especially when she's expertised out, she has 1,000 nuke damage, or 1,000 damage nuke. And then again, pair that up with a little bit of healing, a little bit of rage restore, and you've got a really good pair to do a free-to-play version of a Barbarian Forts. You can knock down level 5 forts with this pairing. It just needs to have a decent amount of troops. I'd say probably around 450 to 500,000 minimum, at least T4, certainly, and maybe get a T5 to throw in some T5 troops in there would be nice too. Really depends on your tech that you have, on your war tech for your personal research, but for the most part you can do this. Certainly level 4s are a cakewalk. Level 5s are certainly doable as well. You just need to have the right amount of troops. So I hope this all made sense to you. Again, this was the best of the best type of video. The forts are really important, especially as you start to get into Zone 3, and certainly once we get into the Lost Temple. There's going to be some really good forts there from what I understand, so you need to know how to do it. And then from a talent tree perspective, again, skill damage maximum. Load the thing up. You want full skill tree on any fort build, okay? And then if you've got a peacekeeper, go into the peacekeeping tree to get the AP reduction and to get the damage to barbarian or neutral units. Okay, those are the ones where you want to have the best. And again, if you're strictly using one commander as a rallier of the forts, there is a rally damage talent tree, or a rally damage talent inside the peacekeeping tree that may make some sense for you as well. I prefer to maybe take some of those points and put them in the integration tree to get some movement speed, some march speed. But yeah, I mean, to each their own. I think as long as you got the skill damage tree maxed out, you can't go wrong for any of these fort builds. You need to have the thing maxed out. You're going to be just nuking these forts down like crazy, and it's going to melt right in front of your face. And again, just to recap the Barbarian AoE stuff, and if you want to have a quick peek at what that looks like, my very first video on my channel was kind of like a Sun Tzu AoE compilation video. There's no video of me at all. It's just my Sun Tzu primary with Richard backup walking around and AoEing groups of 3, 4, and 5 at a time. It's pretty satisfying to watch, hence the title. But yeah, it kind of shows you what you're looking at doing. For using 40 AP or action points, you can get upwards of 5 barbarian kills in a single set of action points. And that's just using Sun Tzu. If you've got YSG maxed out, man, the sky's the limit. Really makes Barbarian AoE farming very, very simple and a lot easier to deal with, where you don't have to necessarily do some of the minor tweaks and adjustments to move the fan of AoE whatever way you want to go. I hope this was helpful. Again, this was the best of the best video for PvE edition. And again, I've got a Siege and Garrison version of this coming, as well as another one for mixed troops at your request. Hope this was helpful. This is your boy Dragothian here. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Again, cheers. I appreciate y'all bearing with me. Lots of new stuff coming up in the next week or so. Obviously, Lost Kingdom is coming out, but lots of new stuff from my channel. So stay tuned. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a great evening, and cheers. Take care, guys.